So I was going through my notes. Turns out I got nothing much to talk about really. All I've done the past week is watch movies. Yesterday, maybe the most entertaining thing that happened in the week was going to the climbing gym in the morning with my brother before work. Got out the apartment and we hear some lady in the distance making noise. Not sure what she was saying. She was asking something. So we have this black lady, short, fat, walking towards us. She's holding something. Now, eyesight is not my strong suit. I'm almost blind. But I can see that she's holding something. My brother immediately identifies the object. I don't. And then she says something like, "What are you?" I think I took a note somewhere. I don't know where. "What are you looking at us? Asian, Indian, white?" We don't say anything. We keep walking towards her. Now she's like 5 meters from us. And she says, "This is for niggers," pointing to the thing she's holding. Now I thought it might have been a knife. I just lifted my hand like this to say, "We come in peace," like in Star Trek. We don't want none of that, whatever you're selling. And we walked around. And my brother told me she was holding a taser. And I felt pretty tired. I wasn't in the mood to go to the gym, 6:30. But that woke me up. I had energy after that. Besides that, nothing much happened this week. I watched... Oh yeah, I guess I can predict the future maybe. Maybe 2-3 weeks ago I had a dream or nightmare where a guy stabs me. And the way I described the guy in the nightmare turns out to be very similar to the upstairs neighbor who threatened me. So I thought, maybe that means something. Probably doesn't. But maybe I'm destined to have a knife fight with the guy and to drown him. I don't think so. I watched Renfield. One of my colleagues had recommended it for a while. I watched it with my mother, my brother, and my partner, and not my sister. Super bloody. I did not expect that. It's a kind of Tarantino-esque, gory and stupid. It was pretty good. It was funny. The acting is great. Nicolas Cage is making 5 movies a year, it seems. And sometimes I wonder, is it hard to be an actor? I think about the idea of talent. Some people, it seems, have certain talents. Now, the term talent is complicated because people act like you have a talent for acting, a talent for playing a sport. As if you have some natural ability for that specific sport or that specific art form, which I think is quite stupid and simplistic. It's more a case of you have certain abilities that lend themselves to that specific task. Basketball players, do they have talent at basketball? They are naturally athletic, they are tall, they started playing basketball at a young age. There's many factors at play. So the idea of talent in any discipline sounds a bit stupid. Like people thought I have talent at drawing. All my life I've been told you have talent at drawing. That's the only thing I've been told I have talent at is drawing, right? And I started drawing when I was a baby. Really, I don't remember starting. My mother, encouraged me to draw as soon as I was able to. I enjoyed it, but it's not like I was good when I started. I persisted I'm 24 years old. I might have been drawing for 20 years. So that's why I'm good. It's not because of talent. People always say talent. And I'm like, I've been practicing. And it seems like that applies to everything. You might have natural abilities. And if you're lucky enough to find a discipline where those abilities are useful and to enjoy it, then you can get good at it. Like LeBron James was really good at American football. Or football, what they call it in America. He's not a football player today because he just preferred basketball. Maybe he wouldn't have been as good at football. But by chance, maybe. I don't know how he chose, but maybe if he had chosen football, he wouldn't have been as great in that discipline, most likely. So the whole idea of talent is weird. But then I was thinking about actors, and sometimes you see student films and short films, low budget productions, and you see the actors, and you think to yourself, it doesn't really work in a weird way. As soon as DiCaprio is on screen, it works somehow. And there's a lot of work behind that, a lot of practice, and there are many kind of robotic aspects to it. Drawing, it seems like this beautiful creative thing, but you just have to draw things you've seen countless times. Acting, you have to learn the script. So there's all these intricate parts to it. So I was watching the start of Inception the other day, and I was looking at DiCaprio and I thought, people love the guy. Is he really that good? And what does being a good actor even mean? And I thought, well, he has the face, first of all. He looks like an actor. He doesn't look like those short film, low budget actors that just don't look the part. He has the face. He has the voice. And then I thought, he must have practiced his lines, many times. And because of his experience, he's good at learning lines. And I thought, what else is there to it? In a film like Inception, where he's not really playing a character, as weird as that sounds, he's almost a blank slate. He's quite similar to the protagonist called Protagonist in Tenet, where he's there to go through the motions, and we don't really get to learn who he is truly, what he's passionate about. It's not a character study. So what he has to be good at is learning the lines, which is not exactly creative, it's mostly robotic. He has to look the part, which he does. What else is there? Could anyone else have played the part of Cobb in Inception? Any good actor? Just my 2 cents. But yeah, at the kind of foundation, the root of talent is passion, for sure. I think about someone like Daniel Day-Lewis. When I saw There Will Be Blood, I didn't really like the movie the first time, but I saw his performance, and then I saw an interview of him, and I realized he's not at all Daniel Plainview. That's his name, right? Yeah. He's playing a role in a way that few actors get to do and are able to, where he's totally being someone else. And that shocked me. Whoa, that sounded dramatic. That shocked me to see that he was acting 100%, so to speak. And the only way you can do that is you have to be extremely passionate and obsessive, really, about doing your job properly. And that's not something you can learn, I think. The obsession and the robotic work of practicing, of learning, of doing research doesn't happen if you don't have the passion to start with. So is talent might just be a mix between natural ability and passion. And so it's just a case of finding what you're truly passionate about and that fits with your particular set of skills. Don't know why I was talking about that. Oh yeah, so Nicolas Cage in Renfield. Nicolas Cage is a great actor, I think. He might be my favorite actor of all time. But he never does what, at least I've never seen him do what Daniel Day-Lewis does in There Will Be Blood. I've never seen him disappear into a role. In fact, when I watch a Nicolas Cage movie, I'm waiting for Nicolas Cage to pop out. That's why the unbearable weight of infinite talent, I think it's something like that. That's why it's so fascinating, because he gets to go full Nicolas Cage at some points. And so I watched, turns out I've watched 2 films with him, because he's making a film every 2 weeks. Renfield, where you have those moments where he does those weird things and you just remember that you're watching Nicolas Cage. And then Butcher's Crossing. And one thing I would say that is distinctive to him, that he does, where he's not playing the character as being himself, is the way he moves his head at times. When he's trying to make a point, when he's trying to be more intense, he'll really move his head. And when he does that, I rejoice, because I'm like, Nicolas Cage, doing his thing. But then he's not I'm not really seeing the character. And you know, what's his name? DiCaprio. It's a bit similar. When you watch Inception, you're watching DiCaprio. You're not really thinking you're watching Cobb. You can't forget you're watching DiCaprio because he's not making any effort. I mean, that sounds mean, but he's not doing a lot to disappear into the role. He's wearing a suit. He looks like DiCaprio. And the character doesn't give him much room to disappear into the role, like Daniel Day-Lewis does in some roles. So the other movie with Cage was Butcher's Crossing. I watched it because I stumbled on a YouTube video that mentioned there's another book that cannot be adapted in the Western genre, and it might have inspired the latter. The book is called Butcher's Crossing, and supposedly it had an impact on Blood Meridian. And I didn't watch the whole video, the YouTube video recommending it. I watched the movie, then went back to the video. The movie wasn't great. It was alright. And in the video it mentions that the movie is alright and the book is not as good as the book. It doesn't communicate what the book is trying to communicate, because the book apparently is trying to communicate how mundane or how repetitive it is to do this job of hunting buffaloes, the intricacies of making bullets, of preparing the weapons, cleaning the weapons, etc. And that's not Hollywood. And so the movie is every film you've ever seen. And since I'm writing a script, since I'm obsessive, I do a lot of research. I ask myself a lot of questions. How do I make this stand out? There's only one story. A lot of people think that's reductive, and that means that's, defeatist in a way and pessimistic. I don't think so. I think that's just the truth, and it doesn't in any way stop you from making something that feels fresh and new. But so I have kind of thought about the idea that most movies are the same a lot, because I don't want to do that. And Butcher's Crossing is so derivative and offers so little. And you think to yourself, if the story had something specific to offer, why didn't they do that? And obviously cinema is, as an art form, it's a business most of all. And so you can't really color outside the lines. That's too much of a risk. But it's crazy how the same movies are being made all the time. The same structure. Why? I know why, but the idea of doing that sounds sad as an artist, to just do a coloring book essentially, where you have the lines and you just color inside. The same, somewhat differently to how anyone else before you would have done the same thing on the same drawing. Another film I watched what's it called? Faults. I watched Faults and Duel the previous week by a guy called Riley Steams, I think. And he has a similar style to Yorgos Lanthimos. I haven't seen Yorgos' last movie, Poor Things. But the characters speak in a inhuman way. No emotions in their speech a lot. That's a lot of what comes across. The way they speak is quite monotone. Maybe like me, actually. Fuck, now that I think about it, the way I speak is quite similar. Very matter of fact. Kind of the opposite of how British people speak, especially in the hospitality industry. And the movie Faults is interesting. It's interesting because clearly there were a lot of limitations in making a movie, and so they stuck to a very small world, and the story is very focused. I thought it was good. I thought Duel was weak because they don't really push the concept far enough. They do interesting things with the concept, but they don't really go far enough. It's very skinny as a film. Very streamlined. And that's also what I'm scared about. What I'm scared of with my own script is that I have this concept. A concept I think is very good. I really like it. I think it's intriguing. And I think there's a lot of potential. And what I love when I see a movie is when they find a concept and they find ways to explore it that are unexpected. and you think to yourself, they've really kind of eaten the whole concept. There's no crumbs left over. That's what I like to see. Whatever the concept is, as high concept as it may be, as blockbustery as it may be, when artists are able to find small things in the intricacies in the concept, that's fascinating. That's what makes it feel more real and more tangible. And one thing that's stopping me from finishing my script is that I'm thinking, I cannot leave any crumbs on the plate. I can't have people, watching the movie or reading the script and thinking, I feel like you could have done more with this. What about this? What about that? And on one hand, it's a good thing because I'm trying to push to make it better. On the other hand, I'll never explore every possible option with the script anyways. That's impossible. There's always going to be people who are going to watch it and dislike it and think that I missed out on opportunities. So it's about finding the balance, I suppose, of when I need to stop, when I need to accept that I'm done. I don't remember whose quote it is, but I read when I was at school, I think, an artist never finishes his work, he merely abandons it. And I guess I need to learn to abandon this thing here at some point. I also think about Rakim talking about Eminem, and he mentions that Eminem has a similar approach to him where he writes a line with rhymes and then he's thinking about every single rhyme he could, I think he says sandwich in between. So the same thing, not wanting to leave crumbs. Instead of saying, doing like the old hip hop rhyming schemes before Rakim, where you rhyme on the last word usually, and the rest of the sentence isn't really given as much attention. One day I was in the park. I'm terrible at this. One day I was on my bike. That doesn't rhyme. One day I was on my bike thinking about what I like. Blah, blah, blah. But then Rakim came along and said, how about I rhyme things inside of it? Such as, it's the return of the wild style fashionist, smashing this, make blah 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 to the bounce to this. Fuck, I know a bunch of Rakim lyrics, but they all include the word nigger. Which, I don't want to say the word nigger 100 times in this one podcast here. Regardless, that's their approach. Their approach is, how can I make this better, essentially? How can I go color outside the lines and make this as dense as possible? At some point you have to move on, which is what I'm learning. Lastly, Dune 2. I rewatched parts of Dune 2. The opening, for example, is quite perfect, I would say. And I just saw the shot of the Baron in the desert at the end after he's killed, with ants crawling on his head, and a shot of the ants crawling into his ear. And I thought, is that a reference to Blue Velvet by David Lynch? Maybe. Maybe. Alright, let's just accept I got nothing to talk about this week. How disappointing. I saw I had a few lines of notes, and then I started writing them down on my laptop. It's just a bunch of movies I've seen. Also, my feet stink. They smell so bad, I can smell them from here. It's like they're in my nose. They smell like cheese. I need to buy new socks. I need to clean my room. I need to stretch. Also, I found a foreign pair of boxers in my stuff. Which is weird. I don't know who they belong to. My hypothesis is that I picked them up from the laundrette when I dried my stuff, which would be quite, neglectful of me. But that may be the case. So I'll return them tomorrow, but I hope that's what happened. What else could it be? Nothing good. Nothing good. You know what I'm thinking now? Oh yeah, I usually say something when I end the podcast. What I was thinking was, I can just cut everything after the last sentence I said. But if I don't, I can keep thinking about something to say. Right now I'm thinking about the way I speak. I'm sure it's possible for me to speak in a more enthusiastic manner and be more entertaining. But do I want to? I don't think so. I don't think so. What the hell am I going to name this episode? Taser Lady. Ants in the ears. It's quite annoying because now with the format of my titles, I need to find a key word in every title that's a certain length. Otherwise it doesn't work. I don't think I can have a title like Simply Coincidental, which would be a terrible title, admittedly, but I don't think coincidental fits. Also, how do you visualize that? Yeah, it's pretty dark in here now. I'm thinking about food, thinking about my script, thinking about my speech patterns. I remember one week I kept saying... What did I keep saying? I kept saying something. I don't know why. For one single episode, I'll choose a word that I'll keep repeating. Go figure. I think that's it. I think it's been it for a while now. Oh! But I'm still here. Alright, enjoy the present and thank you.